Yeah, what's the word? Leroy, what's the word? Leroy, hey, what's the word? Leroy, what's the word? Leroy, hey.
Let me say something that every assistant principal and principal needs to hear. You matter. And I'm not just talking about your title. I'm not just talking about your responsibilities. I'm talking about you as a person in one of the most demanding, misunderstood, and at times thankless roles in education. Because if we're being real, this job can feel thankless. You can pour hours into planning, supporting, solving problems, and putting out fires, and nobody sees it. You stay late to make sure the master schedule works. You spend your Sunday afternoon thinking through staffing, coverage, or discipline situations. You're answering emails at night, taking calls, preparing for meetings that most people will never know happened. And then Monday comes, and it's like none of that even existed. And here's the part that can be tough to sit with. You can be appreciated one moment, and the next moment, you're the problem. You can walk into a classroom, build a great relationship with a teacher, laugh, support, check in, and then the moment you have to give feedback, the moment you have to push their practice, the moment you can't give them exactly what they want, now things feel different. Now you're not the supportive admin. Now you're the one who doesn't get it. Let's be honest about a real scenario. You've got a teacher who you've built a strong relationship with. They trust you. You trust them. Then comes an observation. You sit down and say something like, I noticed students were engaged, but I think we can push the rigor a bit more by having them explain their thinking. And even though your intent is growth, even though your tone is supportive, it can land as criticism. And now you feel that shift. That's leadership. Or another scenario, a staff member comes to you with a request. Maybe it's scheduling. Maybe it's coverage. Maybe it's a classroom concern. And you want to help, but you can't meet the request exactly how they want. Not because you don't care, but because you're balancing the needs of the entire building. And now, instead of being seen as supportive, you're seen as the barrier. That's the reality of this role. You are constantly making decisions where not everyone will be happy. And you have to be okay with that. But here's where it comes back to why you matter. Because in the middle of all of that, you are still the person who sets the tone. Let's talk about teachers again. Teachers don't just need someone to evaluate them. They need someone to believe in them. Someone who sees their effort, not just their outcomes. Because let's be real, teaching is hard. And when a teacher feels like their admin only shows up when something is wrong, that impacts everything. But when you show up consistently, when you check in without an agenda, when you recognize the small things, when you support them through challenges instead of just pointing them out, that builds trust. And trust is what allows you to have those hard conversations later. Now let's talk about students. Because while you're managing adults, systems, and expectations, students are watching everything. They see how you handle situations. They see if you're fair. They see if you're present. And sometimes you're the difference between a student escalating or resetting. Picture this. A student is frustrated. They've been redirected multiple times. They're on edge. You step in. You could go straight to consequence. Or you take 30 seconds and say, hey, what's going on today? And in that moment, you shift the entire situation. That's leadership. That's impact. And those moments don't show up in data. But they matter. Now let's go back to something we need to say out loud again. This job requires hours that people don't see. Late nights, early mornings, weekend planning, constant mental load. You're not just working when you're at school. You're thinking about school when you're at home. You're thinking about that teacher who's struggling, that student who needs support, that situation that could turn into something bigger if it's not handled right. And that can be exhausting. So how do you navigate all of this and still lead effectively? Let me give you a few things to hold on to. First, don't confuse being liked with being effective. It feels good to be liked, but leadership is not about being liked all the time. It's about being respected, trusted, and consistent. There will be moments where people don't agree with you. That doesn't mean you're wrong. It means you're leading. Second, lead with clarity and care. People can handle hard truths. What they struggle with is inconsistency or lack of support. If you're clear about expectations and you show that you genuinely care, even tough conversations land differently over time. Third, protect your purpose. When things get hard, go back to why you do this. You didn't step into this role to be popular. You stepped into this role to make a difference, to support teachers, to impact students, to build something better. Hold on to that. And fourth, give yourself grace. You're not going to get everything right. There will be decisions you wish you handled differently. There will be conversations you replay in your head. That's part of leadership. Learn from it, but don't let it weigh you down. At the end of the day, your impact is bigger than the moments where things feel tough. It's in the teacher who stays because they felt supported. It's in the student who turned things around because someone believed in them. It's in the culture you build over time. So, when you're sitting there late at night, when you're working on something that no one will ever see, when you're questioning if it's all worth it, remember this: you matter, even when it feels thankless, even when it feels heavy, even when it feels like you're not getting it right. You matter, because great schools are not built by programs or policies alone. They're built by leaders who show up every single day and choose to keep going.
Yeah, what's the word? Leroy, what's the word? Leroy, hey, what's the word? Leroy, what's the word? Leroy, hey.